everyone, welcome to the DIY Depot, where we teach you how to do things yourself so you can save yourself a little bit of money. In this video, I'm going to show you how to safely and quickly replace a failed motor in your Honeywell automatic damper system. This project will typically cost you about $100 to $250 in labor to call somebody else out to do it for you. So let's jump right into it and see if we can save you a little bit of money. Now, the easiest way to confirm that your motor has actually failed is to go to one zone, turn on the heat or turn on the AC, and what that does is sends a signal to your Honeywell control board, which should look something like this, and it'll tell all the zones besides the one that you're controlling to turn off. So this will turn red for those different zones, and assuming that that turns red, you know that the control panel is working correctly, and then you go up to your actual dampers, and you can see on them they've got an open and a close label, and if it's not actually going to close when it's supposed to, then likely the motor on it has failed and needs replaced. Now, if you're confident that your damper motor needs to be replaced, but you're thinking to yourself, mine doesn't look like what you have up there, this video still will be applicable to you if you have the older generation of that Honeywell damper. The number on it is the M847D, and this one is just out of date. I don't believe it's manufactured anymore. You might find a couple online, but really you should be upgrading to these new ones, and they are one-for-one compatible, so you won't have to do anything special. You'll be able to pop out the old one and pop in the new one. But if you have this one currently and it's failed, this will also be great for you to show you how to replace it. If you don't already have the replacement one that you need, I'll link to the replacement up here that you can find on Amazon of this exact model that we'll be demonstrating. Now, these are powered by low voltage. It's only a 24 volt AC signal that's being sent to these, so it's actually not dangerous for you to play with while it's still live. But just to be safe, I'd always recommend that you turn off the power before starting to mess with your HVAC system, especially because you don't want it trying to call whenever you're in the middle of replacing it. So go to your circuit breaker, find your furnace, and then just flip that off while you're working on it. Let's take a closer look at that assembly up here, just to get familiar with the different components. So up here, that's actually in your ductwork, that's the damper, which just kind of looks like fan blades that are going to turn sideways whenever it's closed, and this is active. And they're going to turn parallel to the ductwork whenever it's open to let air flow through. The actual damper itself up here, there's just a little set screw there that mounts onto a peg that's coming out of that damper. And that's what allows the motor to control whether those blades are parallel or perpendicular to the airflow. And then here is just a little standoff peg that slots into that hole. The reason that's important is because without it, the motor, when it gets a signal, is just going to spin this entire unit. So that just gives it something to lever against whenever this is trying to control the motor. Also on the motor unit here, you can see there's this little red lever with these numbers 0, 1, 2, and 3. This is where you can set how far it will actually close the damper whenever it gets a signal. So by default, it's going to be set to 0, which means it's going to swing all the way to close when it gets a signal, not letting any air flow through. However, if you want to close it some to get that efficiency, but you don't want to completely cut off airflow to the room or the section of your home, then all you have to do is push this up, and you can move it to the side. Now I set it to 1, I can move it to 2, or I can move it to 3, and then that's going to limit how far it's actually going to open. I believe on these ones, the farthest that you can set it to is about 40 to 50 degrees as far as how much air it's going to continue to let through. I'm going to move that back to 0. Also on these, you do have a nice indicator here that lets you know when it's receiving a signal and it's switching to closed. So whenever this is receiving a signal, assuming it's working properly, that'll light up red, and then you'll start to see this slowly swing over here to closed. And the way these work is there's a tightly wound spring that's up here inside of the housing, and whenever that spring is not receiving any power against it, meaning the motor's not trying to turn against it, the spring by default wants to keep it in the open position. Now, whenever it gets a signal, the motor is going to work against that spring to put it in the closed position, and then when that signal turns off, the spring naturally returns it back to open. Now this is what's called a normally open system. That just means whenever it's not receiving power that it's going to fail in the open position. That's important because if for whatever reason this breaks, if you had it failing in the closed position, then you're not going to get any airflow to this section of your home. So these fail in the open position so that even if they stop working, yes, you lose some efficiency, but at least you're getting airflow to that part of your house. And then the last bit on here, these are just the power wires that are going into it. This is the 24-volt signal. This is the common or the neutral wire here, and you just push those into these pegs. But now that we've gone through an overview of how the system works, let's go ahead and switch it out. First thing you're going to want to do is to remove it from power back here. So these are just little push pin connectors where I need to push this in and then I can pull the wire out. So I'm going to do that here for both of these. That's one. Okay, there's the other one. Now the only thing that's holding this unit in place is that little set screw. So whenever I go to turn that with my screwdriver here, or if you have an Allen wrench, I need to make sure that I don't let that drop. It'd be easier for you, but since I'm holding the camera, I'm gonna do my best to try to not let this drop when I take it off. All right, so I'm just gonna put my screwdriver in there. I'm gonna be turning this counterclockwise, but I'm gonna try to put another finger here on the bottom so it doesn't fall. Give that a couple turns. And then I might need another one. Okay, and then that's literally all you have to do to get it out of there. And then we're just going to reverse that sequence to reinstall the new one. All right, so we'll go ahead and open up that new one. Again, a reminder, this is the M847D-Zone from Honeywell Home. Again, I will link to that one right up here in case you need a replacement unit for yours. Okay, inside of the box, then you're going to have your new motor or actuator. Looks just like the old one. You're also going to have in here your instructions, and then you're just going to have a new one of those set screws, which it's up to you if you want to use the new one or just reuse the one that you already had. Also, just to give you a closer look now that we've got this side by side, here was the old version that I showed you in case you have this version. This has the same exact coupling here that's going to connect into the actual damper, and it also has that little standoff peg that prevents it from spinning whenever the motor's running. So just to show you here side by side, these are a full 1-for-1 replacement where it's just going to slot directly back in there in case you had this one before. Before you actually try to install that new one, there's a very critical step that you need to make sure you take into account. Now, since these are normally open damper motors here, you need to make sure that whenever you put it on there that this is in the fully open position. So for these ones, you need to turn them all the way clockwise until you hear it stop. So this one is in that position, but for example, if you happen to have it fully closed and then you tried to put it on there, it's never going to open up because the spring is already fully set, and it's not going to be able to turn it back to the open position any further. So turn it all the way clockwise before you attempt to install the new actuator. Before I go back up there, just because I only have one hand, I'm going to start that set screw so I don't have to try to do that whenever I'm up there. But I don't want to put it in too far that it's going to block it from connecting into the other peg that's up there. So I'm just going to get that started. All right. Now we're going to put that back into position. This little standoff here just goes into that plug, and then that damper kind of connector or extension coming out of there is going to go into the middle of this coupling. Just push those together. Okay. And now with that up there, I will need to start tightening that, and I'm doing my best with one hand, but need to tighten that up so that it doesn't fall off. Try to give you a little better look. Okay, so you want to tighten that pretty good because that is what's actually connecting it and holding it in place. There's nothing else that's going to be mounting it up there. So make sure you get that pretty snug. Okay, now on the back side, we need to reconnect those signal wires coming from the control panel. Just a reminder here, if I can get you a better look, the M6 here on my left side, that is the 24-volt signal. The M1 is the common wire. So 24-volt signal is going to be your red one, common wire is going to be your white one. Okay, and just a reminder to get these back in there, you're going to need to first depress this little push pin. You're going to stick the wire into the hole, and then you'll let go, and that's what's going to secure the wire into place. And then just to be safe, to make sure these aren't going to fall out of there in the future, give them both a very firm tug just to make sure they're truly seated in those connectors correctly. All right, and the last thing to do is just to run a quick test call on a thermostat other than zone 1, which will cause this to try to close, hopefully, to the closed position. So I'm going to go ahead and turn the thermostat on real quick. Before we do that, though, don't forget to turn your circuit breaker back on for your HVAC system. Give that a couple of minutes to kick back on. It'll maybe take a minute or two until it's booted back up. Okay, so now we've got the thermostat calling for heat in a different zone. You can see there that it does go to the closed LED turns on, and it's working its way over to the closed position. So everything does seem to be working as expected now. That's pretty much all there is to it, though. Hopefully you got some value from this video. We're able to do that yourself and save some money. But if you did get value, appreciate a thumbs up. If you want to be notified of future DIY content, hit that subscribe button. Otherwise, we'll see you here in the next one.